Dedicate these words to you and all the other children affected by the mass incarceration in this nation that sent your pops to prison when he needed education. Sometimes I think this segregation would have done us better, although I know that means that I would never be brought into this world, cause my daddy was so thrilled when he found him a white girl to take back to Jonesboro.
I'm the son of a black man from Kenya and a white woman from Kansas. I have brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, uncles, and cousins of every race and every hue scattered across 3 continents. And for as long as I live, I will never forget that in no other country on earth is my story even possible.
Okay, my name is Chantal Hoff. I am living in The Hague in the Netherlands. I was born in Muyuka, Cameroon. That's a very small village in Cameroon, in the southwest province of Cameroon. I am mixed African and white. My biological father is American and my adopted father is Dutch.
I'm Vinay Mpiana. I'm Kivan Mpiana. Basically, my dad is from the Republiek du Congo and my mother is Dutch. Mine too.
How do I define myself as far as race goes? I identify strongly with Cameroon. I see myself more as a Cameroonian than any other nationality. Well, because I was born and raised in Cameroon, I went through till high school in Cameroon, and those are my formative years, and that's why I identify strongly with Cameroon. I'm not on a daily basis conscious of race or race issues or race relations, and I don't see discrimination around every corner. But am I conscious of myself in a racial sense? Yes. I'm a black woman living in Europe. And in Cameroon, I was the mixed child living in Cameroon. And either way, I was made aware of the fact that there is something different.
I find that depending on where I am, people read me differently.
It's just something that I grew up with my whole life. Like, I don't fit in. I don't belong to any ethnic group 100%.
Yeah, in Cameroon, the white is noticed, and in Europe, the African is noticed. So you are somewhat aware of the fact that, you know, you're always different.
And also when we're with our aunts or uncle and our nephews and nieces, then we only experience the African culture.
At school, when you're young, people will bully you or make fun of you about that, or stereotypes come into play. But I never really felt out of place. I think I felt more frustration than anything, and sometimes anger, but not necessarily that I'm out of place. But you know, the whole point is constantly, I think the one thing about all of this is you're constantly telling people where you belong. Nobody assumes you belong. You have to keep saying, I belong. And I think that's what I have found wherever I have gone. I have belonged nowhere. There's not a single place where I belong. I have had to tell everyone I belong, because there's no door that's saying, yeah, you're one of us. Well, if I'm in a Cameroonian environment, people automatically, who do not know me, automatically speak English to me until they notice that I'm from Cameroon and I speak Pidgin. Then it switches, and then I immediately become one of them. In a Dutch environment, well, it's very obvious that I'm foreign. Not only by the way I look, also I speak Dutch with an accent, and I do raise my kids bilingual, which means I'm always speaking English to my kids. And because I do that, it's very obvious that I am not Dutch, and that comes across. But I don't think it means anything, in the sense that I can still get by very, very well. That was in the early 90s to mid 90s, and I lived in Chicago. And I went there for studies. I went for college. I went to college in the US. Well, there are a few things that happen where you think, well, one was, I was aware of the fact that America was very much focused on race compared to Europe. How was the situation? Well, one thing I do remember, before I went to Chicago to study, I'd visited once. Back then I had a boyfriend living in Chicago. And when I visited him and we were walking down Michigan Avenue, a huge black guy came and stood in front of us. And we looked in amazement, like, why are you, what's happening to him? And then he said to us in this really deep voice, black and white don't mix. The other thing was there weren't that many interracial relationships that I saw around me. In the shops, they were friendly, but you sensed they, you always had a feeling of being watched. But I had the same experience in Holland also, where, in the shops, there was always a shopkeeper close by. And so when I've had Dutch friends say, when you go to the department stores here, it's really hard to find a shopkeeper. It's only after that I realized that, oh, I am being followed. I said, oh, you should come shopping with me. There's always a shopkeeper close by. Before then, I never realized that I was being followed in the shops.
This is for you and me. If you like.
A little time ago, we got arrested for no reason. Yeah, because we fitted the description. We fitted
for robbery.
Of robbery. There's a forest in the neighborhood, and a man was walking through it, and he got stabbed, I think, and his belongings. And keep on. He fit the description, and then when we, because it was like 3 hours later of that happening, we were cycling to the forest, and then suddenly a car was following us, and then they arrested us, they searched us.
But the bottom line is, interracial marriages were forbidden in most states, and therefore it was only normal that these kids were considered black. It was just the most practical thing to do. And don't forget, it's also a scandal for the slave master or whoever else who was white to come out and acknowledge that that child is yours. The scandal would have been huge for anyone involved. Showing that you are hanging out with a black woman, someone who's has more, really lower than you in status. Really, when you're of mixed parentage, it's a lottery how your kids what your kids end up looking like. Some end up being darker shades of skin, some end up having blonde hair, some have kinky hair, some have curlier hair, less kinky hair, some have straight hair. It's really, hard to determine how your kids will all look. Actually, quite often they all do not look the same at all. That's the beauty of interracial children. So yeah, I can imagine that some of them look so white that they will find it hard to be identified as black, and some look really dark that they will have to keep justifying that the white parent is the parent. So it's just how it is.
There's no textbook on how to be multiracial and be okay with it. You just kind of have to forge ahead and be your own person.
I am who I am, and no one else is like me, and that's pretty cool.
I like